much to offer and huge potential, but we're only going to fulfil that potential if people feel safe when they're in town. Our police do a really good job, as do wonderful organisations like the Street Angels, but we've got to be honest about the challenges, and I want to mention three briefly. First, the threats faced by our retail workers, which have been surging in recent years. I met with the assistant manager at one of the retailers at the shopping park in Aylesbury, and she showed me the harrowing footage from her body cam that she was wearing during a recent shoplifting incident. She kept remarkably calm and professional, but she was dealing with not just one, but a whole crowd of shoplifters who threatened her, surged the exit to the store and attacked her physically as well as verbally before making a dash for it. It's far from the only time that has happened recently, and no retail worker should ever have to deal with that. I really support the measures in the government's crime and policing bill, which I know will introduce a new standalone offence of assaulting a retail worker, but I'd like to hear more from the Minister about that. Second, I'd like to highlight the persistent antisocial behaviour that we see in town. I met with a group of representatives from our local pub watch group, and they described the antisocial behaviour that deters paying customers from coming into their premises. And I hear from women in particular who say that they don't feel safe walking down certain streets at night. Again, I know the Crime and Policing Bill has measures to address this, including by introducing the new respect orders, but I'd be grateful if the Minister could share more about plans to keep tackling that blight on our town centres. But third, I'd like to make the point about root causes, because while it's right that we tackle these threats to safety in town, we won't get far without looking at also what's behind these threats. I think we know that antisocial behaviour is often linked to drug and alcohol use, but it's also driven by lack of opportunities and lack of hope. So, in my view, it's going to be measures like the government's youth strategy, which sets out a long-term plan to invest in safe spaces and opportunities for young people, which will ultimately reduce the incentives for people to get into the kinds of activities that make our town centre unsafe and give people that sense of hope and opportunity instead. I'd like to hear more from the Minister about that too.
Briefly on retail crime, which many members have talked about, we are making changes in the police bill which will help in this space. There is also, and we've seen this through the big summer of action we did and the winter of action that we've also just completed, where there is good working between the retailers and our police and our charitable organisations helping with, for example, drug addiction, which is a driver of retail crime. We have seen real results. In my own area, we've seen a very substantial reduction in retail crime from that persistent offender approach, where we go after those people. 80% of retail crime is committed by 20% of offenders. Most of them have a drug addiction of some kind. We have to join the dots and make sure we're giving people the treatment that they need, as well as that they are facing up to the crimes that they have committed. Some members talked about organised crime. Violence reduction units were mentioned. Proud to say we are funding violence reduction units this year, working to increase their effectiveness, and they do an absolutely brilliant job. And of course we have to tackle the issues that lie behind the crime and not just the crime itself.